Does she have a good body? No. Does she have a fat ass? Absolutely. She does have a very nice figure. If she weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. If you didn't know who said these things, which I'm sure you do, what would you automatically assume about the person who said them? One of the most controversial, passionately and widely debated topics of our modern day and age is the opinion on Donald Trump. Today, I will be guiding, informing, and doing my best to convince you exactly how Donald Trump is the worst president America has ever seen. He's a misogynist. He's a racist. He ignited and nourished white supremacy and hatred in America. The fallout being complete destruction of our democracy, our civility, and our court systems. He is a liar, he's a fraud, and he's an imbecile, and was terribly unfit to have led our country. Before I begin, I'd like to disclaimer that I do not believe that Trump is the reason for America's problems. These problems were pre-existing. Otherwise, how would such a man get into office in the first place? All the while, I think it's important to discuss this matter because of the fact that so many people religiously follow and applaud this man. While this speech is about Trump, it's also about empathy and exposing blasphemy and social injustice. There are countless instances where Trump has said horrifically misogynistic things. He reduces women to their bodies, and we can see this in the way he speaks about them. In 2005, Trump was quoted saying, "I'm automatically attracted to beautiful women. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. Just kiss. I don't even wait. When you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Grab them by the pussy. You can do anything." Another time he said, referring to a 10-year-old child, "I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?" Not only is this a testament to his absurdly large ego, but it's also clear in his degrading words and his intentions that he's a clear misogynist. We can see this in the way he referred to Hillary Clinton, his running mate, in 2016. He called her a nasty woman. He wants to overturn Roe v. Wade and take away a woman's right to abortion. And these are just the tip of the iceberg. He elected Amy Coney Barrett into the Supreme Court not too long ago, a woman who says she could consider punishing abortion with the death penalty. He sees women purely as sexual objects and wants to completely take away a woman's right to her own body, her own choice. If it wasn't bad enough that he's a babbling sexist, he's also a racist, which we will go into now. Now that we've addressed some of his more baffling instances of sexism, let's talk about racism. Firstly, we will go over his behavior regarding the civil unrest in America following the murder of George Floyd. Despite almost 90% of protests being peaceful, there was also rioting. How did the president react to this? Did he condemn white supremacy and police brutality? Did he empathize with a wounded, grieving nation? No, of course not. He deployed the National Guard to attack citizens with tear gas and rubber bullets. At least 60 protesters sustained serious head injuries, including a broken jaw, traumatic brain injuries, and blindness based on news reports. Does that sound like making America great? Using force and violence to intimidate and harm citizens rather than working with them? Sounds a lot like a totalitarian government to me. In the midst of the civil unrest, Trump made a tweet calling the protesters thugs. Odd, because when predominantly white anti-maskers were protesting, he called them very good people. Are we seeing a trend? Sounds a lot like what he called Charlottesville Nazis, who paraded around with torches chanting, "We will not be replaced." Actually, that's because it's exactly what he called them. Are we seeing a trend now? But but maybe he didn't mean it, or he just has a loud mouth. During his debate with President-elect Joe Biden, he was asked to condemn white supremacists and Proud Boys. He responded by telling them to, and I quote, "stand back and stand by." The Proud Boys were ecstatic that night. Still think he didn't mean it? It isn't a coincidence that he is supported and widely celebrated by the KKK, the Proud Boys, and other white supremacy groups. Because of his impact, these hate groups were able to express their views not only freely, but with confidence. While one half of America was fueled with power, entitlement, and rage, the other was crippled with fear and anxiety over losing their basic human rights and possibly even their lives. Several young black men were hung in California this year, and it was ruled as suicide. This is what white supremacy does to America. This isn't even the worst part, though. Thousands have lost their lives to COVID-19. America is the #1 country with COVID cases, all because Donald Trump, our so-called leader, so-called great leader, refused to acknowledge the virus and encouraged his cult to go out and not wear a mask. He refused to listen to scientists, instead making a joke of Fauci and ignoring countless warnings. He still calls it the China virus. Really, it should be called the USA virus because we're the only ones who can't seem to put on a mask and stay indoors. This is Trump's great America. A country torn apart by hatred, ravaged with a deadly virus, thousands dead and unemployed. Now that we've covered morality, let's discuss his intellect. Donald Trump is one of the worst speakers I have ever heard, aside from my 5-year-old cousins. Actually, that isn't too far off. Based off of a study that was conducted to determine his intellect based off of his vocabulary, Trump speaks at a 4th grade level. Nina Brule from Newsweek reported that the analysis assessed the first 30,000 words each president spoke in office. Trump clocked in around mid-4th grade. It's bad enough that he's a racist. He's also a moron. In instances where he has gone off the script his team writes for him, he can't seem to form coherent sentences, instead rambling and repeating himself. It's no wonder the majority of his voters were uneducated. Some say that Trump is a man of the people. To that, I'd like to point out that during his presidency, the rich got richer and the poor got poorer. So unless you're a multimillionaire, no, he's not a man of the people. Some say that he's a businessman, and to that, I'd like to point out that he has been bankrupt 7 times. Some say he is a self-made man, which is just simply untrue. He was born rich and has not worked for a dime. In conclusion, Trump is a misogynist, a racist. He ignited hatred across America for minorities, condoning white supremacy. His response to the pandemic, which plagues thousands of Americans, was to laugh in scientists' faces and disregard the entire thing until millions of jobs were lost and the economy was in ruins. He's also a complete idiot, literally. His vocabulary is equivalent to a 4th grader. It's genuinely depressing. Because of all these reasons, he has deemed himself the worst president America has ever seen. That is, unless you're a wealthy, white, straight male with the intellect of a 4th grader. What's the worst of it all, though? He doesn't allow dogs in the White House. Sick man.